Hello. My sister just recently graduated nursing school.
Rebecca Spano.
R-E-B-E-K-K-K! Rebecca! You did it! Woo!
And it made me want to focus just a little bit harder on my education. So I decided to make a new video. Go ahead, everybody gather around. I got a joke for you. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, you gonna answer the door? But what came first? Orange or orange? Well, the answer is neither. A Dravidian language originated the word for the use of the tree that bears the fruit we know as orange. But we're not here to talk about oranges or trees today. We're here to talk about color.
So I was messing around with the color wheel in paint.net to color a picture when I realized it was pretty dang hard to get yellow. And maybe it's just me being picky, but you might notice it too. If I move the color wheel just a tiny bit clockwise, I get some weird lime green or chartreuse color. Or if I move it counterclockwise just a little bit, I get a weird dark brownish orange kind of color. When in reality, I just want plain yellow.
Why can't I just get yellow?
Well, there's actually a reason for that. But first, we're going to have to talk about how we see colors. When light hits an object, it absorbs some of that light. If it absorbs all of that light, it looks like this. Nothing, because it's the light that reflects off that we see. When light enters your eye, it hits the light-sensitive retina at the back of your eye and interacts with a small area that for most people contains 6 to 7 million cones. And it's these cones that help us distinguish color. It's the final step between our brain distinguishes color into reality. But they're not all created equally. You have about 2/3 of them that are sensitive to red light, about another third are sensitive to green light, and just about 2% are sensitive to blue light. When light between 620 and 750 nanometers of wavelength enters your eyes, it interacts quite exclusively with the red cones in your eyes, and this tells the average set of eyes, hey, this object is red. Neat. And this is what we objectively call red. You can tell a similar story for blue and green, and that's what makes these three the primary colors of light. Every other color is an addition of these colors in some way or another.
Take a look at this app by PCCL. It allows you to mix light. And in order to see magenta, you have to mix blue and red. Now, if you wanted to see cyan, you have to mix blue and green. Now, let's say you wanted to see yellow. You'd have to mix the highest intensities of red and green. But there's something special about yellow. Take a look at yellow. Now look at cyan. Cyan still looks like a type of blue. And if we go here, magenta, it still looks like kind of like a type of red. But if you look at, let's get that back, and if you look at yellow again, yellow doesn't really look like a type of red or a type of green. It just looks like yellow.
A reasoning for that was developed by Ewald Hering in 1920 called the opponent process theory. But before I get to that, I want to mention that these similarities between colors, cyan and blue and magenta and red, is why we use the elementary primary color system, red, blue, and yellow. And that is not good, because it is not a primary color system. You cannot make every color from red, blue, and yellow. The actual primary color system of pigments is magenta, cyan, and yellow. You can make every color with these colors. I guess we just think it's too hard to teach kids what cyan and magenta are, and some way along the line, it degraded back to blue and red. Now notice that yellow is a primary color of pigments, and is also a primary color of elementary, incorrectly chosen primary colors. And that is because, unlike cyan is to blue and magenta is to red, yellow is not easily mistakable for another color. Yellow is just yellow. Anyway, let's get back to Ewald. His idea was that your cones in your eyes are set up in a way that there's 3 pairs of colors: black and white, red and green, and blue and yellow. So if red and green cones were stimulated, it would unstimulate the blue and you would see yellow. Whereas normally the blue stimulated, you would just see blue. And it's also set up in a way that colors like red, green, and blue, yellow are unfathomable. Okay, here's an experiment. Take everything blue around you and put it together. You'll probably have some dark blues and some light blues. You'll have things you'll call turquoise and cyan and sky blue, a lot of different colors, periwinkle. Do the same for red and do it for green, and you'll expect similar results. But now try for yellow. You'll notice when you collect everything yellow around you, they share a similar shade. That's because our definition of yellow is just that bright yellowy color. When you think of blue, you might think of dark blue or light blue or in the middle, but yellow, you don't really think about light yellow. And usually not dark yellow either. I mean, is dark yellow not just brown? Well, anyway, whenever you look at red and green at its peak sensitivity, or its peak intensity, you see yellow. And because of that, and besides white, and in combination of your retina's natural tendency to block out shorter wavelength light, such as blue, that means whenever you're looking at yellow, you're experiencing the highest collection of excitement that your cones have to offer. And that is why yellow is the brightest looking color in the spectrum. Cyan and magenta, the other two secondary colors of light, behave in a similar way. If you were to remove the same amount of colors we did changing yellow to one of the other colors, you'd notice cyan looks less cyan and magenta looks less magenta. The difference is yellow's uniqueness. Yellow gets the role as honorary prime color of light due to its important role in the opponent process theory. Now, focused artists will notice the difference between magenta and similar colors. However, a layman viewer of a piece of art will notice something not being yellow that should be much faster. And that's why it's so hard for us and me to select that
Darn yellow color in paint.
By the way, here's yellow on the spectrum of visible light, and while we're at the other secondary colors, we have cyan there, and magenta is not there. That's because magenta is not a spectral color. A spectral color is one that's just made up of one wavelength, like all of these, but non-spectral colors need at least two wavelengths of light, and that includes brown and pink. Brown you would need orange and black, and pink you would need a red and a white. But magenta is different. Magenta is not a combination of these. Magenta is not real. Magenta is a color created by our minds so that we can turn this spectrum of light and make sense of it into a color wheel. So we can make sense of that gap between red and violet.
Now, I could go on all day talking about colors and optics. I mean, it's so interesting. There's so much to talk about, but that would take all day. I like making videos like these because these are the kind of things that perplex my mind, just random things I'll just think about for the whole day. And doing these helps me understand it. So if there's something that boggles your mind, make sure you tell me about it. Maybe it'll boggle mine too, and maybe I'll stop saying boggle so much, and I'll research whatever that is and learn about it, and then tell the whole world about it. In the meantime, you can also look at my channel to look at other science videos. I also do video game gameplays and music covers of random things. So go ahead and check it out. And other than that, have a nice week.